Good morning, Hatfield. Welcome to the May 30th meeting of the Selectmen here at Memorial Town Hall. It's our first meeting since actually town elections and town meeting, and I just again want to thank everybody for being at town meeting. I would like to congratulate Mr. Boyle on his beginning of his third term as Selectman. So at this time, I believe we are going to be reorganizing the board.
I make a motion that we appoint Jeff as chairman for this coming year. It's his turn to serve as the chairman for the upcoming year and go from there. So I move on that.
Okay, and I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Boyle?
There we are. I'll,
Just switch nameplates.
There you go. It's all yours. I polished it too.
For the citizens, I appreciate your vote of confidence in this recent election, and certainly I pledge to continue to do the best I can as a member of this board. We have some challenges ahead, and you'll see some of those here tonight. On business, though, another thing, part of community forum, I guess, but just a personal note, I'd like to express my thanks to, and the board's thanks to, the Hatfield American Legion Post 344 for the recent Memorial Day ceremony. Memorial Day is all about remembrance, and we had a well-organized event. We had great participation, and a number of folks showed up, so it was well done all around. Begin tonight with community forum. Anyone here for community forum? Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Is there, yes,
I move we approve the minutes of 5/14.
is there a second?
Second.
Any changes to the minutes?
I didn't have any here.
Okay.
Fine.
All in favor?
Aye.
The motion's adopted. Energy Committee? We'll defer that for now, or are we going to?
Yeah, I did talk to the chairman yesterday, who said that he and probably at least one other member would be here, but
Let's skip down. Skip down to the next item, appointments. We had correspondence from Mr. George Ashley, wished to be reconsidered. Earlier he had declined, but now wished to be reconsidered for appointment to the 3-year term on the Historical Commission. Is there a motion to?
I'd like to move that we reappoint George Ashley to the Historical Commission.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
What is it we're going to do with respect to the Recreation Committee? Where are we on any discussion with them as to?
well, they
We appointed this individual as,
Melody Edwards, and then we have a a letter of interest here from Jay Niles, who has been, interested in getting on the Recreation Committee for a number of years, apparently. So the Recreation Committee, would like to have Jay Niles on the committee.
we had a call out for committee membership, interest in the public. It was how long do we have it out there? Month or more?
That long, but Melody Edwards is right on the spot with it.
I thought we discussed about having a 5-person or 7-person board there, or do 2 alternates or something.
Yeah,
Different.
I discussed that with the chairman of the Recreation Committee, who also discussed it with several of the other members. They were not in favor of that for reasons I'm not exactly sure of. I guess they think it's a large enough group as it is.
Did you talk to?
I didn't talk to John.
No.
I was supposed to talk to John. I didn't talk to anybody in the last 3 weeks. I'm sorry.
I would Ms. Edwards did everything right. We appointed the individual. We earlier discussed creating an alternate position. Not trying to hurt anyone's feelings. She did everything right. We did everything right. You were going to talk to John. Why don't you do that before we'll continue the table. Let's come back to it. Cable Advisory Committee. You want to talk to that?
Yeah, well, so we're dealing with appointments. I've gone through the list of various committees that we have, and and I've questioned whether or not some of these committees are still active committees. And so since I put the agenda together, I've gotten some of my questions answered. But the first one on the list is the ADA committee, which I don't believe has...
Is that a requirement of law, however?
Well, we don't need a committee. We do need at least a contact person. So I know in my, where I worked previously, I was the ADA contact person. I'd be willing to do that. The DPW director is the facilities maintenance
I thought
director.
Louise was on that committee also at one time.
Pardon me?
I thought Louise was on that committee at one time.
Well, it's a 3-member board. There's 1 vacancy. Phil is on it, and Cookie.
How about the building inspector? No?
He's
Big
not
not,
on
right.
it. No. And Phil, when was the last time that committee met?
There may not be a meeting at all for a couple of years, but then all of a sudden it may pop up, you have to have that board. Don't do away with
Okay.
that board.
Well, I don't
That's
think
the way I understood it
yeah,
back.
I don't think that's true, but whatever you want to do.
Well, why don't you look into it a little bit deeper then, and then get back to us.
Yeah.
Well,
It just
The key is there a legal requirement
mm,
in the law that we,
have a
either
committee.
state or federal, that
Yeah,
we have
Yeah.
an advocacy group for ADA?
Yeah.
Look at maybe appointing the town clerk, seeing she's always here, and if there's going to be any issues, I would think people would go to her.
Mm,
I mean, we can ask her if she's interested.
yeah.
Start off with
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
'Cause basically, I think you're going to have somebody in town hall, just in case some issues do come up about anything.
Well, another, Paul's offered up himself as well. All right,
Yeah. Yeah.
we're going to table it. We'll
We'll
come back
table
to it
that.
next meeting,
Yeah.
and you're going to find out, confirm that it's a requirement or not, and if not, we'll act
Yeah.
on an appointment.
Okay. Cable advisory. I'm not sure at this stage of the game, what purpose.
Paul Duvall is out.
Yeah, we're down to a 2-member board. So it's at this point, no one has shown any interest in.
Let's separate two things. One, membership from the value of having some advisory group. Two different things. Do we think that would be helpful to you, since we've essentially given you the responsibility for the function, to have some interface with the public in terms of suggestions, programming? Forget the current charter, but some sounding board for you
I
to
think
use.
yes, it would be helpful.
Okay, so another alternative might be we abolish the current Cable Advisory Committee and rescind its current charter, and we create a new charter aligned to what would be helpful to you in managing that operation.
Yeah, I think that's.
And then go out and get appropriate folks to.
I think that's a good idea.
Well, I just have, during town meeting, I know it was brought up that several people felt that we should still continue with some type of committee.
Yep.
And I for their sake, I would like to see another committee, whether, Paul's on it and maybe 2 other people or whatever, but
That's what I think, you just said that.
Yeah.
No, I mean, but I'm just
you're
saying,
just- you're agreeing.
instead of just Paul being on it, I would like
Oh,
to see.
yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
I would like to
Others on
move
it.
that we dissolve the present Cable Advisory Committee and reconstruct and withdraw all the charter for them and recreate the charter underneath the new guidelines of Paul, and then recreate another 5-member board.
Okay, so there's a motion to abolish the current Cable Advisory Committee, rescind its current charter, and to task the town administrator to develop a charter for a new group supporting him in his position
That's my motion.
managing.
Yes.
Is there a
One
second?
second.
There's, Mike, you had a comment?
Yes.
You
And
wanna-
you said
You
Paul
want
Duval was
to
on?
use the,
From
Mike?
what I understand is he had resigned quite some time ago.
Really?
That's what I had heard, so that's why I'm asking.
All right, well, we will have to find out about that, but I know that
Okay.
at the last school committee meeting, we talked about this, and the school committee would definitely, they want a committee,
okay,
and they want to be involved in that committee.
okay.
So, you know, as one of the 2 or 3 prongs that this committee serves, the school committee would be a yes. So,
I had thought that we got a letter from him or
Yeah,
some
we did.
correspondence from quite some time ago that he was withdrawing from that committee, Mike.
Yeah,
We did.
yeah, we did.
all right, well, I
We
didn't
did
know.
do that. I
didn't-
remember that.
Yeah, that I didn't know.
But your point,
That should be a part of his job,
Okay.
your
but we will have to talk about that internally.
your point as a member of the school committee is the school committee still wants to remain engaged.
Yeah, we
And
just,
right now you are part of the charter, current
right,
charter.
we discussed that, so
Okay,
it should be in the minutes, and
yeah,
I think it's even gonna be on this month's agenda as well for further discussion.
okay,
Okay.
I don't know if we voted on anything, but we did discuss it.
okay.
Well, we'll be redoing the whole thing.
So,
Motion was made.
a motion made, would, we want to amend the motion to, as guidance for the town administrator to include representation of the school committee.
Well, let him come back
And then
with,
the
let him
charter.
come back with the proposal,
Okay,
and then we'll modify it at that point. Okay,
Okay.
once we see it, then we can go over it and we can modify or add or delete or whatever. at that
okay. Motion's been made, seconded.
Second?
All in favor?
point. Aye.
Okay, moving down the list, I got clarification from Louise that the...
Well, excuse me, there's one other
Yeah.
thing. We need
Oh.
to appropriately notify those people that are presently on the cable advisory
Mhm.
of what's happening.
Okay. I got clarification from Louise that we do in fact have to have an elderly and disabled taxation because we had, the town had enacted a statute requiring that. I also talked to the library director and the library building committee, though inactive at the moment, is still a live concern. You know, there's no activity going on at the moment, but they're anticipating, you know, once the state grant comes through, that there will be some activity there, and they will need to be convening on a regular basis.
We did in a previous, some time ago, eliminate the Board of Selectmen position on that
Yep.
committee.
Okay. The Rescue Pumper Committee, I believe their work is completed, and they should be...
Is there a move to
Solved.
abolish or dissolve the Rescue Pumper Committee? This was a committee formed to...
I thought we had done that quite some time ago.
No,
No, we didn't.
We didn't?
so-
no.
No, I think it was for the...
I'll check with Bill to make sure that we can. We should be able to. I think everything's been resolved on that.
Got the new vehicle.
Just to make sure, yeah, we probably should check with them just in case there's any issues with the vehicle. Or they're
All right.
kind of still somewhat involved in making sure that thing is up and running properly, so just touch base with him before we do it.
All right, you'll come back, bring it back next time.
Yep.
Okay. And the last one on my list, and this is a question, you know, the Veterans Commemorative Committee. I know this was the committee that was involved in placing the commemorative stones out front. Was that the extent of their charge, or are they done with that? Is there more?
What one was that, Paul?
The Veterans Commemorative Committee, I know they're involved with the commemorative plaques out front. Are they done with that? Was there charge beyond that? You know, I don't know.
I thought they finished their, I thought they finished their job by looking over what we were going to do for plaques out there and staying with the original. That was their charter, I believe.
They were engaged in that, and as well when we did an earlier plan for the entrance, redoing the entrance to the town hall. They also participated in that activity, providing input on suggestions how those plaques might be integrated into the new design. I'll be glad to, let me take that one on to see if there's anything else that they,
Want to do or have to do?
any other current activity or.
And then an ongoing committee anyways, I would.
I'll
You'll follow up on that?
I'll follow up on
Okay.
that one.
Paul, just for clarification, the new term expires, that's the fiscal year 14, that's correct. We don't expire these on the date they've been appointed. The expiration of all these,
Yeah, I believe that
Are on the fiscal year.
May 1st is,
on what?
May 1st is when all the
It
appointments.
should be June, it should be July 1st. The new fiscal year comes in July to July. Because every year in the past years, and I don't know if they changed
Well,
this.
I think it's changed now.
Yeah,
I don't know
we
when
always had it
I
on the
know
new fiscal year.
Because I brought
Because it
that
had
question
something to
up.
do with the town report and everything else.
Yeah,
I brought that up to Louise just recently because I always thought that the new elected officials would appoint to different committees when I first
Right.
was on the board. But
Yeah.
then somewhere it was changed, so now it's May 1st instead of
yeah,
July 1st.
right. That's what Louise told me.
Okay.
That's why she sent out that list of appointments, you know, months ago.
March.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I always thought it was June. It used to be June, I know.
Well, it used to be, yeah.
Or July 1st, I should say.
But her explanation to me was the reason why it was changed was to get all that done before all the activities surrounding town meeting, because that was just another thing that, you know, had to be dealt with.
Okay. And then there's one last thing, the right to know. That's not going to happen with the Board of Health. You realize that. That's got to be looked into, going to look at what the whole thing entails. That's, the Board of Health will take care of the responsibility if something happens and deal with the health issues. But we're not going to take and do the paperwork and collect all the data and collect all the chemical data sheets in the town and go in and investigate each store and each facility in the town to see, make sure they got data sheets on hand. This is a whole separate project, okay? Ellen didn't really understand it at the time. I talked with her. She thought it was just something happens with the Board of Health, they'd go and take care of it, and that's part of our job, yes. But as far as the right to know coordinator, that's not our job. That needs to be looked at as an individual party under the Board of Selectmen or the fire chief or whatever. I asked Bill Belden to look into it a little bit more, and he said he would get back to me.
Well, how about,
Okay.
the Board of Health has had that for years, so how about going back to determine what the requirement is for it? And presumably it's, to come up with a term like that, it's somewhere in law that there'd be a right to know. Committee established and see where,
Well, we've always had a right to know coordinator, Jeff.
yeah.
And it used to be Bob Ossipovitz
Bob
for years and
Ossipovitz,
years.
yeah.
And I used to do that job down in Connecticut, so I know, I think I told you, I know how it goes, the way it works. There's a lot of,
If it clearly aligns with the fire department and knowing where volatile chemicals are stored and that kind of thing.
it falls in place with the fire, yeah,
Yeah,
and that's why I asked Bill to check into it. So you might want to check with Bill, Paul, and I'll do the
Okay.
same.
So we can
Give 'em a
assign it
heads
to
up.
the fire department or
Okay.
fire chief.
Now, in your packet, there is the summary of annual appointments, spring 2013. Over on the column date appointed, you'll see a bunch of blanks because those appointments have never been made. But, you know, I would suggest we come back to this.
I don't even have that, I'm sorry. That's all right. No.
It would be attached to this.
Oh, okay,
Some of that.
okay. I got it, okay. All right, so we're coming back with the ones that are still open. And we're still advertising those for Phil? Right? Okay.
Yeah, we've got, well, one is ADA. It's
Okay.
been vacant for a long time.
We're coming back to that.
And then we've got a Betsy Speeder on the Agricultural Advisory Committee. Somehow or another that was not acted on.
Is Tom Petson listed? Because we appointed Tom Petson in a previous meeting.
Okay,
He's listed.
Okay.
he was appointed, but Betsy Speeder was not.
Is it one, I think what it is, don't you send them something saying that they're
Whether they're interested in
interested or
reappointment.
not, and you haven't heard back from them?
All right, that's what usually takes place here, Paul. The town administrator goes down and calls everybody and confirms that. Is that what you're saying you did or you didn't do?
That's what he did.
No, I didn't do that.
I'll do that.
Key
with
does
that.
that.
Yeah.
Okay, and somebody does it. Somebody gets through to them, and if they don't accept the job, then it comes back to us. But you keep trying until you reach the person and get a confirmation one way or another from them, right? You don't do,
Sometimes I just can't get a hold of them. I send them a letter and it goes to the wrong address, the address is changed and they have
well,
to
then
give
we
another-
need to know that so we can follow up, do a follow-up, or we can track them down.
Well, that's when I presented you with a sheet that said no or no answer.
A couple of these are, for example, school committee appointing their representative. It was all waiting till after the election, so, for example, on capital improvement planning committee, school committee designates someone.
Yeah, none of that's happened yet.
Same thing, finance committee. So we should hear from them now after the election, or should ask them. Good, close. Right to know we're working. Okay, so we're coming back to the vacancies on here to include the ADA cable advisory with a new charter. The elderly and disabled taxation. The rescue pumper, checking with Bill. Veterans commemorative, I'll check with folks on the Legion that are working that. We okay on this?
Yeah, just one thing, Jeff, on these, I do remember when I think you talked to Eva Lace and all.
Yes.
So I mean, we've already appointed them for this year, so I just let them stay as is. Don't even bother with seeing if we want to abolish that committee. They,
Oh, yeah.
commemorative commission, so we might as well just, because they all agreed to be on it, so I would just keep
Leave it as is and not,
Yep.
that's fine. As needed. If they don't meet, they don't meet. I want to come back to,
Okay, we're good. We're good.
Mike, we're going to talk, you want to talk about energy?
Yes, please. Over there? Huh?
Yeah, please.
Okay. Well,
Michael Pashek, on the Energy Committee.
I'm chairman of the
Prospect.
Energy Committee right now, so. First, because of the holiday, I didn't get a chance to post a meeting for the Energy Committee, so a lot of, and I wanted some other members here today, but but I guess what I'm going to say, you've heard some of it before, and also in speaking to the members individually, you know, it's nothing I haven't heard before, so I just wanted to share it with you guys. The Energy Committee right now is a very frustrated group. We kind of don't have a direction. We seem to have had success with green communities and the first grant, and that was mostly the other members. I wasn't really that active at the time when they were doing that because I was still recuperating from illness. But they had great success, and I think they really did a wonderful job. Since then, we've had 3 different occasions where things have come up, and it appears that the Board of Selectmen or the town or the public, whoever, and the Energy Committee seem to be at odds and going in different directions. I think the first issue was the grant that we had wanted to pursue, the Sunshot Grant, and the decision was made to have the PVPC do that. The second opportunity, I think that we were not involved with, was the fact that we have two buildings that we're working on right now, a renovation project and a new building, that the Energy Committee wasn't called in on at all for any recommendations. When part of our charter states that we will make recommendations, that we will be requested to make recommendations on building projects like that. And then the third issue would be the whole solar bylaw. We seem to, and I don't know all the details. I know some anecdotal information. I don't know how much is true and how much is not true, but it seemed like there was some 11th hour decisions made that we weren't involved in relative to the direction of the whole bylaw in relation to town meeting. And, we had worked very diligently to develop the bylaw. We worked very hard to develop that bylaw. We worked with the citizens group, and then at the last minute, it seemed like everything just fell apart. So we have a very frustrated group. I haven't polled people, and again, we haven't had an opportunity to meet. I don't know who wants to continue. Of the members now, I don't know who wants to continue to participate. I think there is some interest. I will be, as Jeff had referenced, being the school committee member, I will be up for reappointment, or somebody from the school committee will be up for reappointment. I'm sure that the school committee wants to continue to be involved with the Energy Committee at some level, in anticipating putting a new roof on the Smith Academy. we're also going to look at solar panels for that roof as well, a solar installation. Only because we spend so much money on electricity, and any way we could save some money that we could refunnel back into the school department, that would be very advantageous for the community. So, and the other thing is, I have one copy of a charter that Key had provided me, which talks about a 7-person board, and then I have another copy of a charter for the Energy Committee that was revised more recently last year, I believe, which talks about I don't have that copy with me. When you share a desk with a 13-year-old girl, sometimes things get lost. But so I couldn't find that this morning. But there's another charter that talks about a 5-member board, and it was so I don't know where we're at. We're just we need some direction from you guys. I know there's been talk of updating the energy plan, the overall plan. Again, this building and that building are very integral to the overall energy plan because of the amount of energy that they use. So that's kind of where we are in a summation. And so I guess I'm kind of looking for some direction that I can pass along, and then we'll see what happens.
Well, I think just a couple of comments. One, no one is denying the success or minimizing the success the Energy Committee had early on in helping us getting the green designation and getting their initial grant, and as well as the subsequent grant. Guys did a terrific job. There's no question about it.
No, they did. Those guys, they did a really great job.
So, no one's trying to minimize that whatsoever. With respect to the kind of the 3 things that you mentioned, the Sunshot, the rooftop grant, back to the role of the Energy Committee. The Energy Committee provides recommendations and it's simply a staff arm of the board. It's not a policy-making board.
And we understand that.
In this particular case, we felt we had an opportunity to execute that grant with professional staff, funded through the grant, and we did that using PVPC as opposed to the volunteers that serve on the Energy Committee. I mean, there's nothing negative intended in terms of the board's action in doing that. We thought we'd get a professional work product, which DOER, the recipient, was very happy with and said was an excellent work product. That was just
and I wouldn't disagree. It was a good product. At the same time, David Elvin did tell me that he had wished that the committee had more input. That we had been. He wished that it would have been a better product. He thought if we could have worked together. So
there's nothing.
For whatever it's worth, that's what he said.
Well, again, the board never gave any guidance not to seek input from the Energy Committee. We did not tell PVPC and the individual executing the grant how to do his job.
Right.
He went ahead and talked to the building inspector. He went ahead and talked to other people. We didn't tell him go talk to the building inspector. He did that on his own. So how he went about his business, in any event, the final product was well received. The second item, the renovation projects, we did have professional help in terms of the energy aspects of those projects, the garage. Now, clearly, I mean, there are issues with the garage. If we had $5 million and could build what the emergency services folks would like, we'd do a much better job. But there's been a whole series, and Mark Gillot can walk through them with you, with the Energy Committee, a whole series of measures taken to at least as well as conceivably possible improve the energy efficiency of the new town hall garage. Similarly, with the architect that we're using for the phase one, and all we have is a phase two conceptual. Again, looking at as best we can, given the facility we're working with and the dollars we have available, they're trying to do the right things with regard to minimizing maximizing the efficiencies. With regard to the solar bylaw, again, back to the Energy Committee being advisory and not a policy board. One, there were some grossly inappropriate comments in the original document prepared to be handed out at town meeting. It's one thing to be factual, it's another entirely to take personal shots at individuals. I mean, we don't do that in this meeting, we don't tolerate that at town meeting, we don't tolerate that, period. And to think that that kind of document was going to go to town meeting in that form, someone was very, very, very misguided.
Well, then the document was amended.
Second, it was amended, and the bottom line call for what goes at town meeting is the town moderator, not the Board of Selectmen. The town moderator, along with town council, reviewed all the documents that were being proposed and pulled that particular document. It's his meeting, not our meeting. There's another aspect to that, however, in that the board, the Energy Committee gave input to the planning board. Wasn't the intent of the Board of Selectmen to try and undermine the planning board at town meeting. I mean, our staff, Energy Committee, provided input, represented the position, and they finally made a decision which they thought was in the best interest of the town, and they took that to town meeting. I mean, it wasn't our intent, in any event, to come in at town meeting and try and undermine the planning board's position. I mean, we're trying to work together as one team in this organization.
Well, we were all trying to work together, Jeff, and you know, there was
well, with respect to the thing, it was grossly inappropriate as originally framed.
well, as originally framed. That's fine. That's fine. That's
and
fine.
then two, town council and town moderator chose not to leave it stand in the final formation.
Okay. That's fine. I accept that, and that's fine. So
Now, in terms of direction,
well,
expectations, one, the November 2012 annual report apparently is not done or submitted to DOER. DOER is looking for a rebaselining since we took 2008 as the baseline for the energy report. It's a 5-year 20% reduction plan. It's time to rebaseline and redo the overall plan. Some major planning assumptions in the original plan had hung on achieving certain efficiencies with regard to the town hall. That project a couple of years ago was not approved, so that put a big hole in the potential savings that were going to be earned.
That's right. And what's happening now is going to affect that plan to a very large extent.
Exactly.
As well as this thing out back here. So,
So you're talking about things, what expectations of the committee, reworking the plan, rebaselining the plan, answering the mail from last November 2012 with the annual report. There's something about criteria 3. I wasn't clear what that was.
Again, I don't want to. It sounds like in saying that, answering the mail and of last year, the committee was fully engaged because we were asked by the planning board to provide a bylaw, a solar bylaw, and that's what we worked on from for all that time period. So again, you know, being a volunteer group
I understand
with
it.
no authority, you know, we were busy trying to perform a task that we were asked to do. So, you know.
No, I'm not trying to be critical of that. And that's, again, back to why the board chose to go with PVPC. Again, the group of volunteers who don't have a lot of time to do these kinds of things. That was one of the reasons we went with the PVPC to execute that Sunshot grant. But your other question was, what is it the board is looking for the Energy Committee to be engaged in? And I'm just suggesting completing the annual report, redoing the plan that was originally developed, and rebaselining it, given that we're at 2013 and it began in 2008, it's a 5-year plan. Identifying new opportunities for energy efficiencies, because some of the things that plan was premised on originally are not going to happen. Some have been completed. Are there other things that we can and should be looking at? So there's plenty of opportunities for things to do.
Yep, and we'll have to see if this group wants to engage. We'll have to have a meeting and talk about it and see where we're at.
I'm sorry, I'm doing all the talking here.
No,
No, I just,
it's okay with me, Jeff. You can talk.
no, I just have one question.
I'm having a hard time talking today.
That's been sick.
You're talking about the building out back. I mean, thanks to you, your committee, this is why we became a green community, and I appreciate it. But I guess my question is, once we became a green community, now all our buildings had to conform to the green community.
The stretch
Right, the
code.
new-
Stretch
new
code.
code, right,
All right.
stretch code.
And I believe that building is under that code.
That, yes.
You know, so I guess well, my question is, how much more does the committee get involved after that? Is my question, and I'm not being, you know, I'm kind of confused.
Well, we had discussed in the meeting, in a meeting, when we heard about the building going to be put up, we had assumed we would have been asked in at the design phase. I mean, some of us have been to, you know, pretty extensive seminars on green building and what's going on out there. So it's not like, you know, we're not professionals doing this every day, but I think our level of awareness is very high, maybe even higher because of these educational opportunities. It may be even higher than some contractors that are in practice right now. So that's all. We had made an assumption that we would be called in at some time, and when we didn't get called in, it seemed very strange. And then, you know, I mean, there was so much other stuff going on that we never really approached anybody or asked anybody about it.
Probably in the very beginning, Mike, the reason you didn't get called in was because the insurance company took the full brunt of that building that was demolished, that fell down from the snowstorm, and they're the ones that put the new building up according to the new stretch code. So
Well,
that's
no,
basically what
yeah,
happened.
okay, but then you have this building. And even just to get called into a meeting with the architects once that would have been something. You know, I'm not saying we're going to take the project over. I'm just saying, you know, just to get called into a meeting once and say, what do you got? Here's what we're looking at. What do you guys think? And that never happened. And you know, you get people that you get people that are all excited about this, and then you get people that get disappointed, and I have to include myself. And you know, volunteerism goes a long way. I've been a volunteer in this town for a long time, but you know, at some point you just kind of say, well, if they're not interested in what I have to say, then maybe, you know, maybe they don't need me to participate. And so I think that's where there's that's kind of where some of the guys are right now. And some people, you know, without, I don't have to name any names, but I think we all know some people are a lot more passionate about all this than others are. And so, you know, sometimes you do go off on tangents or in wrong directions. But for the most part, everybody had the good of the town, you know, within their sights all the time.
Well, it's a fair point that we probably should have engaged the group early on here in the rehab of the town hall. I mean, fair point.
Yeah, I mean, especially
we'll take one there.
The first
really,
architect group wasn't even LEED certified, so you know.
But what you're really highlighting is an issue for all of us, not just with this committee, but with all the others. And I've said it before, and maybe we'll do something now. We appoint committees, and essentially it's expect them to go off and do good things. And what we don't do sufficiently well is to stay engaged along the way and have the committee come back once every couple months or once every quarter, and here's what they're doing, here's what their issues are, share our views, our issues, just to maintain that dialogue. So things like this don't just happen and fester and unintentionally. I mean, you mentioned the committees and the folks that volunteer have the best interests in town. This group does too.
I know.
So, yes, sir.
I'd like to comment on the Energy Committee. They did a wonderful job putting the stretch code together, and if you remember, Mike, that was part of your ball game as far as the Energy Committee worked very hard to get it pushed through town meeting and everything else. So once you get into the stretch code and it's adopted by the town, then the law takes over, and then you have to follow the building codes
Yeah, no, I understand
and everything
that.
else. So
Yeah.
there's a very specific guidelines that are adhered to on the architectural side. So I'm a little confused, like probably Jan was. When the committee does their job and does what's supposed to happen, the stretch code is in place, then to me the committee would move on to the next one, knowing that this would be in place and that the stretch code, everybody knows what the stretch code involves, especially the committee that put the whole thing together.
Well, I can give you one example. The stretch code says that there should be a representative from an independent company that's going to do blower door tests at some point. Has that company been hired? Has that gone out to bid? Do we have anybody right now that's going to do that?
That would be up to the building inspector. And I believe there was either two or three companies that do the testing now.
All right.
Okay.
So, you know, maybe it would be just more communication with Stanley on some of this stuff too.
And don't forget, you guys can always go and ask him the questions too. You don't have to have him go, you know, just go down and talk to him when you guys are here.
Yeah,
And you get information just like we do.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of times we have to go right in the office and get our information. We don't wait for a meeting or you know, when things happen. Okay, you know, I mean, always looking for information from him and electrical inspectors and everybody else, so.
Well, we've got some immediates to take care of.
Mm-hmm.
What's the game plan on our November report? Responding to whatever DOER has a question on or is looking for information on in criteria 3. We're supposed to have something in on all their issues by the 10th of June, with everything to be resolved by the 30th of June, and or we're going to potentially be cut off from award competition. Is there a plan? Game plan here?
Yeah, well, I need to...
well, I don't have any plan,
Yeah.
because I didn't know about those dates, for one thing.
I just
so-
found out about the
Yeah,
dates.
well,
And I don't even know what my status is right now. We have a school committee meeting on the 11th, and I assume that's when we're gonna do reappointments. So I don't know what, you know, I don't know who's gonna be chair, I don't know anything right now. Everything's gonna, you know, at the end of the year point, so. So I don't know.
It does sound like as we've got a lot of work to do in a short period of time, Paul.
well, yeah, you know, it may sound like, it may not in reality, but the thing I have to do is I need to get a hold of Jim Berry with DOER and get together with him and
Jim
talk
Berry's
about all
willing to
this.
come out here, work with us,
Yeah.
work with the Energy
Yeah.
Committee, work
Well,
with
he's been a
anybody.
big help to me in the past, so.
Okay.
um,
All right, well, you're going back to the Energy Committee to, I guess, see if,
We'll have to post a meeting, see where we're at, yeah.
okay,
See where the members are at.
all right, and you're going to get back to us?
I will get back to you.
And we'll get back to Paul because
Yeah.
you may not be on there after the 11th or whenever, but,
Right.
okay.
So I will let Paul know where everyone's at.
Okay, and we're going to finish up the other thing on Monday?
Yeah.
That's, you don't have to-
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
DPW. Whately water lines. Or do you want to do the water line project since we got
Yeah,
Mike
let's have Mike talk first.
out of order? This is Mike Ole from CEI, and here to talk about our water line project.
Good morning.
Morning, Mike.
Here to give you an update on the project and let you know some of the issues we've just recently run into and where things are headed. I have a brief outline of the information here for the board's consideration. And what I'd like to do first is just refresh, kind of give an overview of the whole project and where we started, the first contract that we're dealing with now on the design phase, and then get into the specific issues that we're dealing with. So,
Could you tilt it a little toward us? Is that okay, John?
does that work? Go ahead. Does that work for the board?
That works.
Or more?
Yeah, a little more.
I'm good.
Okay.
Okay. Can you hear me? Okay. What we were trying to do is address the issues with the existing old 14-inch and 8-inch transmission mains that supply the bulk of the water to the town and presently go through some really wet cross-country areas. The complete project in concept starts up at the water treatment plant off of Linseed Road. Was going down Rocks Road all the way down to West Street, going down West Street a short stretch and connecting with Chestnut, going down Chestnut, crossing I-91, intended to cross over the bridge, the existing Mass DOT bridge in an existing utility bay, crossing under the railroad and continuing down Chestnut, crossing the Mill River here, and then eventually continuing on down all the way down to right around the corner here. But based on funding limitations, we had looked at just having this first part of the project, which would go from the treatment plant down to around Plain Road. And in addition to that, we were also having to go to specific spots along West Street to disconnect the old main where it crosses and connects to, say, the existing water main that runs north-south on West Street, connecting down here the West Hatfield well directly into that main, because right now that well connects to the cross-country portion, which would be abandoned. Coming up here and doing some work on Linseed, where right now the existing transmission mains come down Linseed and then go cross-country. We would have to disconnect those mains once the new pipe was in. And that was the original intent. So we were working on the design and permitting of that first phase. And I'm going to go back over and get more into where we stand with the project and some of the issues we've just run into. At this point, we have the project permitted and approved through the railroad for the railroad crossing, and also met with the Conservation Commission. There is a lot of wetland areas that we pass through along Rocks Road and along Chestnut. Those we did get approval through them. We had submitted plans to Mass DOT for two items. We are within their right-of-way along West Street. And then we were also doing the specific I-91 bridge crossing. And the issue that came up is we received a response from Mass DOT relative to the I-91 bridge crossing, that because of existing structural corrosion issues with the existing bridge, there are concerns that they have with us putting the water main in the existing utility bay. And I have here this is a copy of their fairly recent bridge inspection report. It was done at the end of last year. So I guess the silver lining, after I got over the shock of it, was better to find out about this now than once we had the contract out and the contractor reaches there and everything stops. If you quickly flip to, I'll give you a page number. Halfway through, there are some photos. The existing utility bay is on the north side of the bridge, and it's a space that when they build the bridge, they put cross
Page
members. Pardon?
Page 12 you're on?
Page 11.
Yeah, it starts on page 11, and then the pictures that I'm going to focus in on are on, say, page 12, where they do show some existing, I believe it's telecommunications lines that are there in that
Yes.
existing utility bay.
The bottom.
Yeah, and that's a pretty typical setup where they have these cross members running perpendicular to the steel girders that are really supporting the bridge. The issue is, if you look at the bottom of page 13 in the photo there, Mass DOT's inspection identified pretty significant deterioration due to corrosion on some of the steel girders. Specifically, that bottom picture is, unfortunately for us, is on the north. It's the northernmost girder. So it's one of the girders that's actually supporting the utility bay utilities. So Mass DOT flagged those issues. There is, as you can see, some, reduction in the thickness of that bottom flange. They do have a weight posting on the bridge right now. They are monitoring it. I'm sure if this is just indicative of the state of bridges throughout the state, and they can only get to them as funds allow. The problem for us is they have concerns about adding additional weight, water main, to the bridge, and in order for us to proceed with using the utility bay, we would need to do a separate rating analysis, which is going out, cleaning up the corrosion to see actually how much material is left. Then down the road, we would be into probably doing some repairs on some of these members in order to put the water main in. I would advise against that, against repairing a Mass DOT bridge. I think there's, beyond just the expense, there's other issues with that. There's no current plan for Mass DOT to do anything with this bridge. It's fine. It's a relatively low volume traffic road for them. And it's not an immediate safety issue for them as is.
Well, it's a safety issue for us, for the water line. We
It
have to
is.
get it across.
Right.
So bore under 91. That's your option.
Correct.
Done.
So I've gone back and forth with Mass DOT on this and looked at, the directional drilling, pipe jacking. We actually first asked, could we do, say, for whatever reason, the corrosion is not evident on the southern side of the bridge. You look at those girders in their report, looks fine. But they're not set up as a utility bay, and it's not easy to go back and retrofit a bridge because of the abutment walls and everything was never set up that way. So that was an option, but that's not an inexpensive option. We also asked if we could do some type of support structure, say on the outside face, like an angle bracket of some sort, and just then have it hanging off the south side. They will not accept that. They want everything within the bridge structure. So then we looked at, the only other real option is doing some type of directional drill, pipe jacking, and just don't even touch the bridge. Just stay away from it. Mass DOT is fully on board with that. In looking at those options, they, for a water pipe, would want it to be pipe jacking, which is having a sleeve and then your carrier pipes within it. For a number of reasons, that seems to be the best route over directional drill. Directional drill, you would just have whatever pipe, your water pipe, say in this case it's a 16-inch diameter water main, would just be bored directly through, and then if there were an issue in the future, you would have to excavate or whatever. So the benefit of the pipe jacking is if there's an issue, both for the town's ease of repair in the future, you can just open it from either end and pull it back out and replace it. At this size, doing a directional boring or drilling is very expensive, just because of the size. It's very commonly used for, 12-inch, 6-inch, 4-inch. One of the requests from Tony Listowski, the water superintendent, was if you did do the directional drill, oversize it, and then allow yourself the ability to replace it in the future without ever excavating within the I-91 right-of-way. But now you're talking a huge directional drill, and pipe jacking's actually cheaper.
How about if we only drill to where the blacktop, the bituminous concrete is, from side to side, north and southbound lanes, and then we dig up the rest?
Within the median, say?
In the medium, absolutely.
At that point, when you do the pipe jacking, you're paying a lot of money for
Setup.
the setup at either end, and doing the jacking pit itself is probably 10 feet wide by 40 feet long, because that allows them space to set up the bracing in the back, the jacking equipment itself, and then you have to leave room to drop in, say, a 10 to 20 foot spool of casing pipe, and you push in a piece at a time. So by the time you did that, you'd end up almost having very minimal open cut in the median. I don't know.
I got a question.
Yes.
You go with a 36-inch sleeve through there.
Yes.
Can you rent space? Say that bridge, on whatever page it was, with the
Yeah.
utility ducts, I'm assuming they're phone or whatever.
Yes.
They're not electric. But anyways, you could turn around and rent space in that same sleeve as our water main is.
You could. You'd want to know about it at the time you put it in,
No?
because you're going to close everything up.
Right.
You end up filling the casing with sand just as a precaution so that there aren't any voids. But there's no reason why you couldn't put, say, empty conduits or sleeves within the 36 at the same time we're doing that, and then daylight them at either end for if there's other utilities that might want, like communications.
No.
That would be the one I would think of, or if you needed to get a sewer line across,
Right.
might be an opportunity to put it in. It
I thought sewer had to be 3 feet away from water.
It does, but you could set it up with separate provisions if you really wanted to get it in there. Now we would go with a 30 to 36 inch diameter sleeve, and then it's a 16-inch diameter water main. Now a 16-inch diameter ductile iron water main is probably actually 20 inches OD. So by the time you really lay it out, there isn't a lot of extra space in that 36-inch casing. Something probably for if there were communication lines or something that you wanted to get across, cable.
No.
That could easily be done at this point.
Okay, Mike, I hate to cut to the chase, but
Yeah.
what's the cost?
Well, the conservative estimate to go across, call it 300 feet end to end. And we had defined that as kind of pay limits for the bridge crossing, so apples to apples. On the bridge, we were estimating $250 a foot, which is expensive, but that's to have the pipe in there, insulated, supported. Jacking is probably $750 a foot. So end to end, we went from 75,000 to like 225,000. The bigger issue to me is a timing issue, because at this point we do not, Mass DOT, we need a permit from Mass DOT to proceed. In order to do a pipe jacking, they require us to do separate borings along the exact route that we're going to take so that there's no surprises. I don't believe there will be any surprises because we've done a number of borings already on either end of the bridge. We did borings right to the east at the railroad, on either side of the railroad. All the same material, and everything, the anecdotal information locally is it's relatively soft, silty sand. And we're going to be in water, it's in the water table at that point. Relatively straightforward pipe jacking operation. The issues that usually get more expensive and complicated is if you're going to run into boulders, and say you're going to hit the edge of a boulder, and now you're starting to have to chip away. There's voids. I don't see any of that, but in order to get Mass DOT's approval, we have to do some more additional work up front with borings, put together the actual plan for them to review, submit it to them. That's probably, the next month or so just to do all that, and then Mass DOT's got to review that.
Can we look at this project and take a look at what we've got from the water treatment plant to Chestnut Street and say, okay, we're going to bid this and get it going and get it done?
exactly my proposal.
But what's the cost?
So what I did here is I could have said, yes, let's split this into 2 contracts and get the Rocks Road contract out on the street so that we can start constructing. The one piece I still need to do with that is get Mass DOT's blessing to do that last little piece when we get down to West Street, so that I get across West Street. That should be straightforward because it's just the local District 2. They already have seen the project. I've spoken to the permit engineer.
Right.
The issue is the pipe jacking. It's got to go to Boston to their geotechnical group. So I prepared an updated schedule with what I'm proposing to do. Have a first contract that I'm calling 2013-1. That would be from the plant down Rocks Road, and then do the little piece on West Street, and it would be 2 pieces. There are some houses right around the corner that now have really an extended service line to feed them. We were going to bring, say, the new water main down West Street, and they would get serviced off of that. I still think that's prudent to do now. We would dead end that still right around Chestnut Street, and that could be extended in the future as part of long-term plans to upgrade the existing 6-inch main that's in West Street. So I would want to do that as part of contract 1. Fortunately for us, I don't know if you can picture it, but West Street, as it's approaching Chestnut Street, it bows out to the west. And when you look at the old plans, I don't know the exact history, but it looks like there was more of a traditional T intersection, and this is
it's just a
before
straight-
91.
Yeah.
And Chestnut Street just teed into it.
Teed into Route 5 and 10.
Yeah, and it was just, that alignment is just north of the bridge that's there now.
Yeah.
So that it was in existence, they built the bridge, moved it over. The old alignment for West Street dead ends into the embankment that's now the Chestnut Street going up to the bridge. And you can see it, it's maintained, the power lines still go down there, and Mass DOT still has that right of way. Mass DOT also still has the right of way for the old Chestnut Street alignment north of the bridge. So it's ideal in that the state owns all that. We need that space for the jacking to be setting up on one side and then on the other. So what I would do under this first contract is bring the pipe down that old alignment branching off of West Street, and then stop it just short of where the jacking would start up, so that we're out of West Street. And then later this summer, fall, we're able to bid out, say, the rest of the project, which would be the jacking and going down Chestnut Street. So that's this first contract, and I've built in some time. I'm hoping that Mass DOT can turn this, approval around in a couple weeks, that they've already seen, and it's really just a local office. And then just get it out and advertised so that by, end of the summer, we're actually have a contractor on board, and shortly in September, they should have a crew on site. And this is for the Rocks Road portion. There's no reason why that work can't go all through the winter.
It's all rock up
Yeah,
there, so
right.
it doesn't matter.
It's actually good working conditions for them, and I'm hoping a contractor will look at this favorably, lining up work for a time that's normally downtime and they can't be out in public streets. So
So you didn't take into consideration tying the pumps, the well pump into this one yet?
well, what I did, I'm glad you brought that up, because I am proposing that first contract, those other scattered connections, disconnecting the existing transmission main and then connecting West Hatfield well. I would include the West Hatfield well connection in this.
And the disconnecting of the other one coming across the swamp?
Not yet,
Not yet?
because until we get across I-91 and the railroad and Mill River, you still need to rely on the existing 14 and 8 all the way down. So for a short time, it'll be more reinforced.
Now I'm a little bit
Okay.
confused, Mike, because when it comes down Linseed Road,
Yes.
and then it ties into Route 5 right there at
Yes.
that, what, 12-inch line or whatever is right there at the corner of Linseed and Route 5 and Linseed Road,
Yep.
okay? What is the difference between tying in there or tying in back at the well, back a quarter of a mile north of that?
The connection at the well was only connecting the well to the existing 6.
Okay, but you're coming off of the mountain with the new water line
Mm-hmm.
that you can energize,
Yes.
okay, and tie into Route 5.
Yes.
So all of that would be energized. So my question is, what's the difference of tying it in there at Chestnut Street versus tying it in at Linseed Road?
At the well?
Or at Chestnut Street, somewhere on that line that you said that comes down from Chestnut Street down to the houses and to the well, that's got to be at least, what, a 14-inch?
On West Street?
Yes,
It's 6.
a 6-inch?
Yeah. And that's the reason why
But you're
I can't
talking about putting what size from Chestnut to the well?
nothing. Because the current scope of the project is focused on bringing the transmission main cross-country and getting it across 91, the railroad, and the river. We were not extending it up and down, north and south on West Street, just,
Now I'm confused, because when we put the line in from the pump, from the well pump
yes,
to Route 5,
yes.
the intention was to tie into that water line,
It will tie into the 6,
okay, tying into the 6.
correct, which is the existing pipe that's there.
Okay.
So, yeah, go ahead.
So now, if that's a 6-inch line right there, as you get down to Linseed Road,
Yes.
what size pipe does it come off of Linseed Road into?
I
that
believe
area?
at Linseed, it's at least a 12. I mean, once it starts crossing over and coming into town that way.
Okay, so you're getting the main water. So you could
I-
continue, you could still sever your pipes coming down through to the well,
Yes, to the well.
cap them,
Yes,
still feed your line off of Linseed Road.
yes. But the existing 14-inch pipe and 8-inch pipe that run cross-country from Linseed to West Street, cross, and then eventually cross at Brockway Smith, and then connect to
Oh, okay, that's-
Chestnut at around Plain Road. That's the piece I can't disconnect yet, because the new
Right,
pipe
I
won't
forgot-
go far enough.
I forgot about that part
Yeah.
behind Brockway Smith. That's the piece that I was
So
forgetting about.
we gotta keep those,
Okay.
so for a while.
I understand that
We'll
now.
have both.
Okay,
Now, the future contract, I'm calling it, which is, doing from I-91, doing this pipe jacking all the way, and then getting across the Mill River and connecting at Plain Road. It's a smaller portion of the project. So the first portion is probably 8,000 feet of pipe. So in terms of pipe length, it's, probably 80% of the project. And it's slow going because of all the rock we expect to hit on Rocks Road. So you'll see on here that even with having 2 separate contracts and not getting this second contract out until, the end of the year, I still think we're going to end up being able to finish both at the same time. And in talking to the jacking firms, they also note the same thing, that for them, working in the winters, ideal.
okay. The state understands that we're under a ticking time bomb as far as what can happen out there, and then if it does happen, then emergencies prevail, and
Yeah.
then we do what we need to do to make it happen.
Yeah.
Which means if we have to go over the bridge, we have to go over the bridge.
Yes, and what I'd like to
Simple as that.
do, I'm going to talk to Tony a little more about how we end this first contract. Is there a way to leave it so if we have to hook up like a temporary pipe and run it in the street, as if it were bypass pipe, you could run it up and over the bridge?
Yep, exactly. I mean, if we have an incident, the state we're gonna
Yeah.
be looking for funding.
Yeah.
We can't afford that kind of problem. And if they're gonna drag their feet on this in any way, it just makes things worse.
Yep.
So we need action like yesterday.
Yep.
Okay.
What do you mean, drag their feet?
I think they got an anchor around their neck.
Surely no steel in their bridge.
Any more questions for Mike?
I'm good.
So what do you need from this group?
Well,
Approval on
like
the strategy?
Well, I think we're looking to, like, you know, Mike and I had met the last couple weeks
Yeah.
occasionally and discussed the strategy here, and with the issues with DOT, we felt that splitting the contract was the best way to
Okay.
go. So I think we're looking for, you know, a vote from the board to do that instead
Is there
of
a
one
motion,
contract.
I'd like to move that we split the contract and go with the
As
phase
submitted?
that's recommended by Mike Oles.
Second.
Second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much,
We'll
Mike.
proceed.
And Mike, if you just stay for a minute while we discuss the Whately water line while it's on the table. I think it's been a couple weeks now.
Go ahead, take it.
The line at the Whately line on Route 5 is leaking. It started off as a slow leak.
First of all, do you want to let folks know that we have a Hatfield line running into Whately?
Correct.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
We service 4 houses in Whately from the Hatfield water supply. There was a leak reported a couple weeks ago, right on the line, just past the line. We excavated it. It's a galvanized pipe. After more excavation and seeing what's out there with the mirage of piping and things, we decided it's not an easy fix. Once you touch that galvanized line, it's going to break repeatedly up the line. So we just left it for now. It's leaking worse today than it was yesterday. We're losing about 10,000 gallons a day up there. So we're looking for a recommendation from the board, a letter of support from the board to Whately. We did contact our water commissioners there. There is a Whately water line to the line, just right by the line.
Why don't we abandon ours and just let them tie into theirs?
Well, that's one of the issues. That's one of the suggestions. I don't think it's feasible for us to redo our line to supply them 4 houses because it's not going to be an easy fix. It's in a Mass DOT right away.
Especially if they got a new updated water line better than ours.
The only problem is that Whately charges $5,000 a home to hook in, which isn't our problem. I understand that, but we've been supplying water there forever, and I think that it's up to the board to send a letter to Whately saying either the residents pay to support our line or to have them hook into their own line.
Well, like when I was talking to you upstairs, just to give you an update, we're feeding Whately at River Road, West Street, and
Pantry Road.
Pantry Road.
Pantry Road, we go on their side, don't we?
Yes, up the hill, yeah,
Okay,
up the hill, over the bridge, up the hill. a little
Absolutely.
Oh,
bit.
okay.
Yeah, but-
All right. Well,
That's
anyway,
another issue.
I can check with Walter there because I know he did work on the River Road project. End of it. They had an issue over there. The homeowners, as far as I know, the homeowners along that route, each homeowner had to kick in so much money to repair that line from the town line to wherever it ended. And I think it was up close to Norris's, if not at Norris's. I'm almost positive of that. So if that's the case, we have to send these people a letter and just say, the way it sounds to me is whenever this was done, who knows when, but they were given them the rights to buy water from us, but I possibly at some point in time, whenever it was, again, they had to put in their own water line, and they, in the case of River Road, I'm almost positive that they had to maintain it themselves.
Okay, what's the content of the letter?
Well, I know that Paul had a discussion with town council in regards to this whole thing. I don't know if you received any reply.
What options are we
Well, I think
putting on the table
for
for our colleagues in Whately?
I think that-
Well, what, what, what options are we putting on the table for our colleagues in Whately?
Well, The first option would be for them to tie into the Whately line. That's what I feel they should do. Regardless of the cost to them, it is what it is. I mean, we're
Understand.
not
Okay.
going to repair our line, at least not on our budget. And if that isn't feasible, I mean, do we go the route where they extend and repair that line, the Hatfield line, to where their last house is?
What's the cost on extending and repair?
Have no idea, because it's all Mickey Mouse there. It's, I don't know what's going into the homes there. Is it galvanized? Is it plastic?
We don't go into the homes. That's all we do is we put the connection there, and then it's up to them to tie into it.
Well, like I said, it's in a Mass DOT, so right away. I don't know if Mike has any.
I don't know the distance, but even on just working in the DOT right away, if you're within the paved roadway, and I'm not sure if it is,
Not on any edge.
they will require things like it's a controlled density fill, so it's an excavatable type concrete, because they don't want any potential settlement showing up. So you're talking probably $100 to $150 a foot for, a nominal, 8 or 6 inch water main just to serve those houses. And a lot of the money's just in the trenching and the pavement repairs.
What's the pipe like on the Hatfield side?
Yeah,
I think
that
it's
was
good. I think it's good to there. I think they just did an extension of a galvanized
Well, that's-
line up the
Well, that's
up
what
the
I'm
edge of the
saying.
road.
That's why
Expensive
I'm
as
saying
possible.
that is probably owned by the people that are feeding off our system.
It's no different than what we did in Northampton with the roundhouse there.
Yeah.
They could tie into our sewer line as long as they absorb the cost to get down to there.
That was my other question. Our side, do we have the same problem?
No,
But you're feeling, okay, you don't.
because I think
Given
what-
the history, it makes sense that they, as in kind of new development,
Okay.
wanted the water and they
So-
extended it.
so to the
So-
Hatfield line is probably the 6 inch.
Yeah.
So the position you're asking the board to adopt is that there is a problem, you've identified the problem. We don't feel that this is something that Hatfield should absorb, they're Whately residents. And we're presenting them the problem. How they fix it,
Correct.
who they charge or how they do that,
They could tie into their line,
They
or
could
they could
tie- yeah,
tie
you-
back into our line. But
tie
that-
into
that would
theirs
be
or
their
tie into
choice.
ours. We don't object either way, do we?
Well, no. If they extended our water main, which I don't think it would be feasible for them to do. If it's running $150 a foot, if you're going 500 feet, that's not going to work out so well. Instead of paying the $5,000 to enter into Whately, but the thing is there has to be a time frame set up here, like a 30-day notice to get this done, because that line's leaking, and once that line breaks off,
We shut the water off.
the
that's it.
water's done there. They're not going to have no water.
So they need to know, like, right away.
Yeah.
That's something where you should be right on top, but get in touch with their water district over there.
We did get in touch with them, but the residents have to be notified, and I think that has to come from the board.
Send,
All right,
I
well,
move that we send a letter out to the
so
residents.
who's drafting the letter to our colleagues in Whately? or-
I already have a draft letter from
Okay.
town council.
Okay, is it here to sign?
It's in a faxed form.
I'd like to move that we send a letter to the Whately residents, letting them know what the issue is, the repercussions, and the suggestion that we are moving this in the form of towards the Whately Water Board to expedite this situation.
Is there a second?
No second.
I'd like to amend that. I would suggest
Go ahead.
we send our letter to the board, our colleagues, the Board of Selectmen,
Yep.
how they then notify, as opposed to us sending to Whately citizens.
But-
Well,
But
we are,
both, you go both.
they're still our customers.
We need to notify our
Water department.
customers,
Yeah.
okay? But we also need to notify the Board of Selectmen too. So the letters all go out at the same time to
Maybe we
everybody.
could just send courtesy copies to the residents
yeah,
of
we'll
of our
CC.
letter to the the
Yeah.
Board of Selectmen.
And I'll try to get a hold of Walter Theer to find out exactly, but I'm almost positive that
Yeah.
the homeowners down on River Road had to pay for that. So,
So that's the motion.
There is a second as amended. Any other amendments or discussion?
I'm good. We need to get that out.
All in favor?
Right away. Aye.
Aye.
Okay. And you'll work with,
Hi, I don't mean to interrupt, you're the select board. I'm Terry, the postmaster in Hatfield, and I just wanted to invite y'all to, next week there's a grand opening, the village post office at the Hatfield Feed and Seed at 1 o'clock.
oh, thank you very much.
Okay?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, thank you.
thank you.
Okay, you're straight?
I'm straight. That's good.
Okay.
The sooner the better. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you very much, Mike. Appreciate it.
Okay,
I've got,
I don't think we're totally done with this letter here because there's other issues out there that are at hand, right? With the way I read this. There's also Pantry Road and some of the other ones. What's the
Yes.
conditions of those out there?
Well, the thing is that I think we should address this first.
this is the immediate issue.
This is the immediate issue. Put this
Well-
on the table for now, then I'll get a hold of Tony, and he wants to come in and speak anyway, so. I told him he didn't have to today.
There's no
because
leaks right now.
There's no leaks there. It's just that there's pipe issues out there as well.
Okay, so we're gonna resolve,
Yes.
we
Let's
resolve the
resolve
issue
the
here.
first issue that's
Okay.
leaking. And then I'll bring Tony in and he can go over exactly what his plan is here. Because there's issues, like you say, on the Pantry Road where it goes, we service houses there, and like I said, I mean, they must have tied into our system to
Well, we had a
maybe
water
catch
line
one
before
house
they
and
did.
that line just kept trailing off.
We had the water line there before they did, I
Yeah,
believe, and
so-
they just, the houses that were settled in that area, they just extended
Well,
it down through.
The houses on the other side of the bridge, I believe, are in Hatfield. I'm thinking they are.
You know,
I think
you know,
A couple of them are.
The bridge is the line right there, and then
Yeah, but I'm not sure, but that house that,
They're building a house there
Panichko's
now.
house, that was Panichko Vince's father's house.
yeah, I believe that was in Hatfield.
Well, the pipe is exposed in the river there, in the brook, right there.
Yeah.
So
It
there's
has been-
issues there.
Wow.
Our main is exposed in the Mill River.
True.
Yeah, a lot of problems with our piping we have to resolve.
You're just lucky that you have
All right,
good
well,
water.
I guess we'll
Here.
get that out and
yeah.
Okay,
take care of that
We'll
right
take
away.
care of it today.
Thank you.
Okay.
thanks, Mike.
Couple other things. Bill Young is retiring. He's told us he's retiring.
Yes.
We need to get an announcement out, so, for backfill. I realize he hasn't given you an exact date, but you can ask him for a date.
Yes, I'm looking at
to
two
tell.
options. I'm looking either to fill his position as is or to reorganize the department.
Okay.
So, putting the pencil to the paper to see which way is the best feasible way.
I'd like the Board of
Just don't,
Selectmen to be involved in that, along with you. You're gonna reorganize or whatever?
Well, I'm sure he will.
Okay.
All right, but just don't wait so you're in a
Correct.
bind and he walks out the door and do you have the money in your budget for his departure?
Yes,
Okay.
that was included in this year's budget.
Transfer station permit?
Transfer station permit is 85% done. I'm waiting for a couple numbers from the hauling company, and then it's ready to be sent out.
Okay.
I talked to DEP yesterday in regards to it, and there's
Yeah.
no issues. There's no issues because it's just a renewal. We haven't changed anything up there in the 10 years that the permit was alive for, so there's not going to be any issues as
Okay.
far as time frame.
Well, the issue here was our transfer station permit expires in 1 July, so
Correct.
we need to get the, that's all I had for. Okay, town administrator.
Just one more thing, Jeff, tonight. I just want to thank the community service people from the Northampton office. John Woodward was great during the Memorial Day festivities. I mean, they brought a whole crew in and we did, we cleaned up everything. I just want to, hats off to them for their support. They've always been great. You just make a phone call and they bring the people, so I want to thank them.
Paul?
On the town hall renovations, things are moving right along. The filed sub-bids were due a couple of weeks ago, and that was for HVAC and electrical work. So those bids, came in, pretty much on target. The general contractor bids are due June 5th, next Wednesday. So we'll see where they stand. There has been a lot of interest in this project. I'm anticipating to get, I'd say 6 to 8 general contractor bids on it. And so we'll see where we stand next Wednesday. Now, as part of this, the very first thing that needs to happen with the town hall renovation project is, obviously once the contract is awarded, we need to get rid of a lot of, I'm going to call it junk, out in the gym. So I've put a list together of surplus property for the board to act on. I've been out there several times with Louise, identifying what's what. I've also been out there a couple of times with Keith. And early on there was a question about the piano, who owns the piano, et cetera, I talked to the school. If they were, they left it there 30 some odd years ago, so if they had any interest in it, I think they would have come and got it. But I did talk to the school, and they said, they don't want it. Even if they did want it, they don't have any room for it. So, we're going to need to. There's a lot of stuff back there. The chairs. Because one of the things that's going to have to happen. There's stuff up on the stage, and there's a lot of stuff that is out in the gym area. So we're going to need to remove as much as we can there, because then everything that is out in the gym area is going to have to go up on the stage in order for them to work.
Post this on the board.
Okay, I would like to move that we declare this list as a surplus property, and that we move forward on advertising it and taking bids for it, and give 1 week notice, 2 weeks notice, whatever the law requires, and we'll receive whatever bids are needed, and people can view it during the week, and leave some kind of a bid with you with it, sealed bid, and
That's
then
what
we
I'm
move
looking
forward.
for. Yeah.
And then let us know how much is left after
Second.
that.
Okay.
So there's a motion to declare the list as submitted as excess surplus property and direct the town administrator to dispose of it per our instructions. Second,
I second it.
all in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Make sure you get this posted
Okay,
on
thank
the
you.
board up here, though.
I will. Okay. Yeah.
As we had, I think it was last year.
John can put it out on
Okay.
the scroll. Anyone interested?
Oh, yeah, that's a
We'll be
great
receiving
idea.
bids on it within the
Great
next
idea.
2 weeks, and give a
Yeah.
deadline date.
We usually use municipal bid, don't we?
Yeah, but, I mean,
Well, some of this stuff is,
And you post it.
right.
And some of these wooden chairs we're retaining. It's not
Right.
all the wooden
Not
chairs.
getting rid of all of them.
We'll use them in our conference room.
But there's way more than we need.
Yeah, but you still want to keep a section, a good surplus
Oh,
of them.
yeah. There's
Okay,
two.
we can always get rid of,
There's 2 piles of them within the gym area itself, and my intention was to keep
and
all
then
of
there's
those.
2 piles probably out in the back corner there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There's actually more than that.
Okay.
Great, okay, on the town hall garage renovations, we've received the filed sub-bids, and the general contractor bids were due last week. And we have an apparent low bidder, which is Evergreen Construction Corporation out of Springfield. First, I thought this was Bob Bartlett's company, but I guess it's a completely separate company. So the architect is in the process now of checking references on this company. Yeah, I've done a little checking myself. They do have a website, which I investigated. So provided that that turns out all right, I would anticipate having a contract ready for the board to sign at our next meeting with Evergreen Construction Corporation. Whenever that meeting is, something we need to deal with today. So there were 3 alternates, and we can afford to do all 3 alternates. It came well within our construction budget, so I think, you know, we're at this stage of the game, I think we're in pretty good shape with this.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, can I make a suggestion?
Yes, sir.
That we change the name of Town Hall Garage to something else.
What do you want to change it to?
Hatfield EMS Center or anything. Just not that. Okay. People are asking, where is this place?
Right behind the town hall.
Well, don't
Yeah,
change any legal documents.
Yeah.
We've identified it, I think,
Yeah.
for our insurance purposes, as the town hall garage.
We can name
Well,
the
what-
building.
But at
once
some
we
point
once
in
the
time-
According to a
project's,
vote.
once the project's done.
Yeah, then we can,
Yeah. once
Then
the
we can
project-
dedicate it as whatever you want.
Yeah. Jan Dempsey
Dempsey.
Memorial.
There you go, perfect.
Who was Jana Damsky 100 years from now, right?
Memorial EMS Center. Yeah.
highway garage.
Moving right along, the highway garage roof, I've just put that project out to bid.
19 June.
And the bids will be due on that on June 17th. And the last
And
thing
all the papers, I mean, like the Hampshire Gazette and all that?
Yeah.
Pardon me?
Yes.
It's all in the Hampshire Gazette? And
Yep, yep, been on the Central Register, put it in the Gazette, it appeared yesterday, and it's actually, should be in today's
In
Gazette as
today's
well.
also.
Yeah. So we're moving ahead with that. And then the Guardian Green Community Roadmap Program. Just wanted to mention this because I was approached by this Guardian Energy Group. They're an energy consulting contractor. They have a program they will come in and do audits for communities and develop, you know, energy conservation projects for communities, and they will submit or help the town submit grant applications for green community funding. And the way they get paid is that, you know, they do all the auditing work, project development work up front. They do it pro bono. They submit the grant. The way they get paid is through the grant. If the community is successful in getting a grant, then that, you know, they will be able, whatever work that they are eligible to do, which may not be all of it, and, you know, they essentially get to do that work, as long as it's under $10,000. Otherwise, we'd have to go out to bid. So that's, and they also try to maximize incentives from the utilities to when they do these projects in order to maximize the grant money in terms of you know, how far it'll go. So it's something I'm looking into. I just wanted to let you know about it. It may help us out with our whole green community program,
I mean,
and
work with
updating our energy plan.
work with the
and all that
Energy
stuff.
Committee on that.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, there's a couple things. Mike was intimating or suggesting that perhaps some of those folks don't want to continue to participate. One,
So we have to see.
we'll see. This could be a backup to do some of the work that would be helpful and necessary, and it could conceivably be done independent of an energy committee. But anyway, wait for Mike to come back, and well, meanwhile, Paul's going to be relooking at the charter as to how they interface, and this is just an option that he's found that might be helpful.
Might be helpful. That's all I have.
The schedule, before we get into old business,
Now I know, Jeff, you and I will be gone the second week of June, and Jan will be gone the third week of June.
yeah, I'll be gone. Well, I'll be gone 10th, at least 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th. You're gone when?
The third week.
Third, so the week of the 17th, or that's a Monday. Ed, are you here
What's that, June?
in June?
I'm not going anywhere until next February. I'll be here, providing I get over this.
We couldn't even meet next Tuesday if we wanted to, could we? Or could we?
I could.
Well, we have enough time to post?
Sure.
Oh, yes, we
plenty of
got
time.
Friday.
What was that again, Jeff?
We could meet next Tuesday and get back on schedule, and Tuesday the
Meet
4th.
us,
And
what are we looking at, second and fourth, Thursdays,
but
Tuesdays?
Jan's not going to be here that week of
The third
How about the 25th?
25th, Jan? It's a Tuesday?
25th work, Jen?
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay, so
Next Tuesday.
Tuesday and then the 25th,
Okay.
Tuesday is the,
4th.
hold on, you're cutting into my other meetings here. I have Homeland Security meeting, Public Health, Northampton DPH at 9:30.
When's that?
First, what's that?
When is that?
That's the first and the third. That's why the second and the fourth works best.
Yeah.
Works best for me. Do we need one? Do we need a meeting? I guess is my question. Because sometimes in the summer we just cut back to one a month, unless we have some situations that need to be addressed, and then we just have a emergency meeting. What do you guys think? Don't want to have a meeting if there's no reason to have a meeting.
We,
Keep John busy.
pardon?
Keep John busy.
We can make that up anytime.
What's that? Yeah. Well,
So do
So when you saying, what day do you want to have a meeting, I guess? Okay, let's start there. The 2nd or the 25th? Or, I mean, the 4th or the 25th?
Well-
he's saying he can't make it.
well, it would be, I can't be the 4th. Usually it would be the 11th, the 11th and the 25th, but your guys are going on the 11th, so
And the
I'm saying we
18th.
just hold it on the 25th when you guys are back.
All right,
All right,
we'll live with that.
we'll do it.
And if something comes up in the meantime, we'll just have to deal with it, that's
So what
all.
do we got?
6:25.
25. Well, we do have, I take it back, we do, because one of the things we need to close on is the end of year puts and takes for the budget. And then we have to meet with the finance committee after that to get their blessing.
Right, we've got until, I think, 2
The
weeks
5th
in
of-
July, I
No,
think.
5th of July.
The 5th of July we
I
got?
think it's
Is
the
that what
5th.
it is?
Yeah, I'm
I
pretty
thought
sure.
we
it's-
had a week
thought it
or
was
2
longer
weeks,
than
something like
that,
that, to
too.
get all the bills squared away.
I believe it's the 5th, but
But we can find that out. Paul, you can,
I'll double check with Mike. You would know.
so we need a call for anybody that has some shortfalls and that needs to make some, I know Jane has, COA has an issue. They've already surfaced. but there may be others, and,
Oh, I
We just need to
I
act.
have some.
all right, well, we need to act on those, and
Jan, you're going, you said the week of the 10th?
17th, I think it is.
17th.
17th.
And Jeff, you're going the week of the 10th, right?
yes.
Okay.
What else?
17th and,
So, are
well, we're
we,
still
are
not,
we
even
gonna
if we
wait?
had it next week, we're still not going to be ready with the year-end closing because
Yeah.
of what's happening here.
Yeah.
So we're just going to have to close out on the 25th and that's it. We'll have all the
The
documents ready.
25th, the 25th of June.
Yeah.
Okay. What about meeting in July and August?
But one other thing, what are we doing about the report due 10th of June to DOER?
Well, I'll deal with that.
All right? Let's go ahead and do July and August. Back to the...
July, can we do 9 and 28th? That's the second and 4th.
It's the 8th, isn't it? Is it the 8th Tuesday?
Tuesday is the 9th in July. July 9th and the 23rd. Those are the 2nd and the 4th.
All right, well, the 2nd and 4th, that's fine.
9th and 23rd.
If we just stay consistent with
Yeah.
that'd be great. And, you know, if it comes to it, Jeff, that we don't really need a meeting,
We'll cancel it.
yeah. And
it's not a
just, we
problem.
won't do that meeting, we'll just wait until the next one, that's all.
We haven't found too many of those.
Well, I mean, there's always little stuff to take care of, but some stuff can wait.
How about
August,
August,
do the 2nd and 4th, the same thing, this
2nd Tuesday?
13th and 27th.
Yeah, that's good. We'll regroup after that.
There you go.
September,
Because
you
we
want to
will
do
anyways.
September 10th and 24th?
I haven't seen that scheduled, stick to a schedule yet.
So, yeah, we're going to, I know it's not always possible, but we're going to try and stick with 2nd and 4th Tuesdays
2nd and
Yes.
4th,
going forward?
Yeah.
Okay.
that would be great. I've got one thing that got to be brought up under new business, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Chairman,
I talked to Stanley, the building inspector, and he was asking to carry 1 week's vacation into the next year for about 3 months, to be able to use it up into the first three months of next year. I guess Bob is going for some more tests and stuff like that, but he's trying to finagle his time around to work. So
I've actually got a letter here from Stanley.
I told him to submit it to you.
Yeah. It's for, you know, he says 1 week, but that's 1 work week for him, so it's 27 hours.
Yeah.
Is there a motion to approve?
So, I move that we approve the extension of his time to go take a week's vacation into the next year. It has to be used within 3 months of
Second.
the new year.
Second, any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
On a similar note, though we don't have anything in writing, there was a request from the police department that the board authorize Tom Osley to carry over his vacation time into the next year.
He was supposed to do what he thought was best for him. Now that he's back, I guess he's coming back to work on Monday, I think
Yeah,
it
I
is.
heard he's coming back part-time.
Yeah. And so I would wait to hear from
Wait to
him on
hear
what he
from-
wants
yeah.
to do, because it's how much and all that other stuff.
Okay.
Versus he might want to keep some of his vacation or sick time and trade off with vacation time. I don't know. But that'd be up to however he wants to work that.
Any old business? One question on this conversion. I understand we have no action, this land classification conversion.
No, it's
Okay.
merely a
Okay.
notification.
That's fine.
Mr. Chairman, we've got a couple of abatements, water abatements, sewer abatements here.
Yes, we'll get to them in just a
Oh,
second.
okay.
Just a reminder, close of the fiscal year, we have performance reports on our direct reports. So how about each of us has certain responsibilities as liaison, when those persons take the lead on drafting a report and then sharing it with the rest of the board members for any other additional input.
Okay.
That sound reasonable? Do we have any other contracts to deal with other than yours?
Oh, where's,
We're not going to do that in open session here, but
key, the signature? Oh, you got it? Okay, all right.
all right. You know, one of the things that came up recently is when Massachusetts legislature passed a new law concerning animal control officers. They now require 120 hours of training.
Right.
Scott Pomeroy has been our animal control officer for some years and done an excellent job. And he's notified the board that if he had to do that, he would be unable to continue because he doesn't have the time to
Right.
vote. Now, we don't pay for it, and the priority would be given to newly appointed, but at some point this may come up. And I would propose that we seek a waiver from
Because he's
that
been animal
requirement
control officer
of
for so many years.
120-hour training, given his extensive experience in the job. I didn't see that in the
I'd like
in the
to,
law, in the legislation itself, but
I'd like to see what the law is actually requiring before we do a waiver, because there might be some things that he has to do in there that might comply, you know, that he has to do some type of a training for a couple days or something like that to satisfy the job, you know, just to update him.
well, it's 120 hours.
Well, I know, but
That's what,
what I'm saying is we might want to, instead of 120 hours, we might want to waive 50 hours or 100 hours, and the other 25 that he would have to be, you know, part of it. That's what I'm saying. We should take a look at what, because we don't want to get ourselves into a liability situation either. Okay, that would put us there, that we appointed him without him, that's just like saying that, you know, we're going to appoint a police officer and not have him go out and have any training for the first year. So we got to be careful with that.
so,
I know he's had the training, but there might be new stuff that
Okay.
might come into play, and that's all I'm saying is just hold off before we look for a waiver until we see exactly what the law is and review it, because I'd like to, have they come out with the new law and what the...
the law is passed.
Yeah, but what
it
is the
doesn't-
proposal now?
It doesn't define
The hours, okay? It's
the
120
training.
125 hours, but,
Maybe we could find from, how about if you call Scott, if he could get the training syllabus for the 120 hours, and
Yes. 'cause they gotta
what
have-
is reasonable for us to go seek a waiver for him on? Maybe there, like as Ed said, maybe there's a couple things that you really ought to go take, but other stuff he's done forever.
It's all part of his job he's been doing for the last 20 years.
And we could seek a waiver on it, because we'd like to keep him. A HR committee, the charter for that,
I started working
Okay.
on one.
all right. And just some follow-up from town meeting. I've got a bunch of things I'll share with you later, but the medical marijuana thing, remember we're supposed to develop some panel
Correct.
to
a
address
study
that, so
committee.
we need to start thinking about who it is we're going to appoint, charter for that committee. We need to work with the planning board on bringing back expedited permitting, bringing back the mixed-use bylaw.
Mixed use, I thought was shot down, but we're going to be looking to bring it back.
Yeah, there was some misstatements
Yeah,
on
okay.
which the vote was,
Just a reorg.
really, they're only talking about residences above a commercial activity, like a barber living above his barber shop. So we're not talking about, and we're only talking about a handful of very small areas in the entire town. So we're not talking about a major development with any major impact
Well,
on the town schools.
What can happen is the only thing that can mushroom here is that, let's say, if that bylaw goes into effect, then across the street here, they could put a whole second floor on with all apartments over their businesses over here.
Yeah.
Okay, so that would be, that would be a repercussion of the bylaw. But then on new construction, it would be allowable, same thing. Okay, so if you're looking at the pros and the cons, all right,
Well, you know, it doesn't allow for increased density. And one of the things that, you know, I think got completely lost at the town meeting was the fact that Hatfield already has a mixed-use bylaw. And this was just you know, refining it.
In shaping the
Yeah.
the kind you want.
right. Yeah, we
To make sure they had the right kind of amenities, the right kind of
I
setback.
mean, we're under grandfather right now, and my building is mixed use, okay?
Yeah.
I have apartments on the first floor, and I have businesses on the first
Yeah.
floor. And what they're trying to do is keep the apartments on the second floor
Yes.
and put the businesses on the first floor, which makes sense.
Well, we got another number of things. I'll bring them up later. I'll share a list with you.
Well, I'm gonna email that to you. You're gonna doctor it up?
I'll get it to you.
Okay.
Any other new business? Well, one other thing, under old business, we had this issue about this DN contract, and I got a second note back from Bill O'Neill. He sees the risk as minimal and suggests we go ahead with approving the contract.
On the painting of the,
Yeah, painting.
that's
There's
what I
no-
thought. It was just so minuscule that
Yeah, it's not,
you
Yeah.
put two attorneys together and you can find all kinds of things wrong, you know. But the contractor doing the work, if he's been doing the work for years and years and years, and this is what he does, not a problem.
Yeah, and he's done, you know, this contractor built the tank.
I'd like to move that we award the bid to the contractor and get the job done.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we talked about performance reports and get that kicked out. Any other old business
there's
and
something-
new business?
New in here, I'm looking in here under Swazowski Realty. Intends to convert all such land that is currently designated as Chapter 61A land to commercial use under Section 14. All right, now, when I was assessor, they used to have to go in and withdraw their 61 status, okay, and take it out of 61A and then pay the rollback taxes. That's something to do with the town assessors. As far as converting it to land, converting it to commercial use, I think what dictates the use of that land is what was originally. If it was farmland, it was farmland. If it was residential in a residential area, it was residential. I think what they're saying, because chapter land, it can be any notion of land. It can be commercial land. It can be forestry. It can be all different types. Okay, they want to bring it back into commercial. So I'm not sure if we can do that without a zoning change. That's what it looks like to me. And I'm not sure if they're asking for a zoning change here.
No,
or-
it's just a
They're just
notification.
notifying us.
Well, it's a notification that the Board of Selectmen sometimes gets ahead of time before the Planning Board. So we better check and make sure that this is not a notice to the Board of Selectmen first, and we've got 12 days or 14 days to expedite our rights and stuff here. We got to be careful on this.
Well, I'm the one that asked the question earlier, and the answer was, this was just informational.
Yeah, just
For
for
the Board of
informational
Selectmen.
purposes.
Yeah,
That's
and
what
when I
my
read
question
this-
earlier was, is there any action required on our part?
Yeah, when I read it, it looked like it came from the attorney, and then...
It is.
That is from
Yeah,
there.
and I got a little concerned because sometimes when they want to take land out of chapter land, and if they want to go for rezoning, the first letter of intent comes to the Board of Selectmen, and then we pass it on in so many days, we have to pass it on to the Planning Board.
I believe it's rural residential.
Well,
Yeah,
it just caught my eye when it says to convert to commercial
Commercial.
use, okay? And I don't think we can convert
Oh,
it
it's
to commercial use.
It's changing it from agricultural use, the 61, to commercial.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, but if originally
With the
that
solar
house,
panels.
that was the old Boyle Farm.
Yes.
So that was always residential, or was it
Yeah.
commercial?
Well, I mean, only
I don't know.
only town meeting can change the zoning, so.
You're right, but what
yeah.
I'm saying, that's what I'm asking. I'm saying we need to check this to make sure it's not their intent as the start of a
Yeah.
zoning
Well, I think
change.
it all goes to the statute governing solar, you know, that states that, you know, it can go anywhere.
I
you
know,
can't
but
prevent
it
it.
starts out with the Board of Selectmen. If I want to do a zoning change on my property, the first thing I do is I send a
Oh, I
letter
see
to the
what
Board
you're
of
saying.
Selectmen
I see what
and
you're
say
saying.
that I want to do a zoning change. Okay, it's up to the Board of Selectmen within, I think it's 14 days, to notify the planning board of the intent. Okay, that's what I'm saying I think this
Yeah.
letter is. I'm not 100% sure, but that's what I'm saying.
Well, let's be safe.
just wanna
Is there a
double check.
motion to acknowledge receipt and forward the letter to the Board of Assessors and the Planning Board?
I'll move that we move it to the assessors, make sure they're aware of what's going on here, and also bring the planning board under aware that this might be a possible zoning change.
Second.
Second. All in favor? Aye.
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 Had some
Right here.
signature, oh,
The DN tank contract is in there. I don't know if there's anything else.
no, this water, this thing here.
Yeah, right here.
There's 2 water abatements. The bills went out. The first one is with Bob Gardner. The property's at Hatfield Village. He took ownership 8 days from the reading. He's asking to abate the $90 of 45 and 45 as the past owner collected. We collected from the past owner previous to the 8 days.
Okay, is there a motion to,
So I move that we abate him $45. Robert Gardner, abate him,
On both.
abate Robert
So it's
Gardner
a total of
$45.
90.
Where do you see 90 here?
I don't know.
45 each, water and
Yep.
sewer?
Oh, water and sewer, okay. For a total of $90.
Which
Okay.
ones have we got to sign?
Uh,
These were in the packet.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's, Mr. Donald Oldsley, 25 North Street,
I move that we,
house remodeled, no water or sewer.
oh,
Was it shut off at the,
Yeah, it shut off because he's remodeling the house, so for the past billing cycle, we're charging him, we want to charge him the minimum amount, the
I see.
45 and 45, so we want to abate $87.65.
all right. Is there a motion
Second.
to,
okay, I move that we abate him $87.65 for sewer and water.
second, all in favor?
Right.
Aye.
Just one more thing, Jeff. I have the commitment letter that Jan had signed as being the chairman of the select board for batch 2 for the water and sewer bills for fiscal 2013. Just for informational purposes, the water amount was $168,516.39, and the sewer amount was $139,087.79.
Okay. Any other old business or new business?
Set, let me check my calendar here.
You're going to sign this.
Okay.
I'm good.
All right, is there a motion to go into executive session
I didn't bring my thing.
under
with me.
Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21, Rule, if I can find it.
Contract
Reason
negotiation.
2, to prepare and/or conduct contract negotiation with non-union personnel.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Adamski, aye.
Lesko, aye.
Now, I'd propose that we meet, at least initially, ourselves, decide what our position is, and then, and we're talking about the contract for the town administrator. And then bring in the town administrator after we've had our own discussion. Is that all right?
That's okay with me.
Okay. All right. Any other business? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
And we will not be returning to open session.